few days ago, one tweet nearly broke football Twitter. Arsenal are exploring a move for Vinicius Jr. The guy who posted it was David Ornstein, the one reporter in this sport whose word is basically treated as fact. It became the most liked tweet of his career. People laughed it off almost immediately, calling it leverage. They said it's just Vinicius's camp scaring a bigger contract out of Real Madrid. And even if it's real, people thought Arsenal couldn't afford to make the deal financially. Except Arsenal's owners also own an NBA team, the Denver Nuggets. Their franchise player, Nikola Jokic, just signed a contract worth over $55 million a year, more than $275 million total. So maybe don't write Arsenal off just yet, because here's what's actually on the table. Real Madrid might lose one of their best players who practically won them their last 2 Champions Leagues, over money that, compared to what he's worth to the club, isn't even that much. This might be the most complicated transfer story in years, and we're going to show you why Real Madrid won't budge, why Vinicius's asking price looks insane on paper, and why it might not be. Also, why does each side think the other one has betrayed them? How Real Madrid is quietly using Vinicius's own sponsorship money to help cover his salary, and why, if Arsenal pulls this off, it could be the biggest signing in Premier League history. A club that's never won the Champions League finally getting its shot, with the man who delivers it becoming the new face of English football. So here's the real question. Does Vinicius stay at Real Madrid in Kylian Mbappe's shadow, hoping the club finally values him the way he thinks he deserves? Or does he walk away and go be the main man somewhere else? Real Madrid agreed the deal for Vinicius in 2017, off the back of him tearing it up as a teenager at Flamengo. It became official in 2018, the day he turned 18, for around 45 million euros. His childhood hero Ronaldo stood next to him at the unveiling. His first couple of seasons were rough. He struggled to score, and Spanish pundits piled on, some of it about his game, a lot of it uncomfortably about who he was and where he was from, but he stayed silent and kept playing anyway. By 2021, it clicked. Since then, he's won 16 trophies with the club, 3 La Liga titles, 2 Champions Leagues, and multiple Club World Cups. And here's the part people forget. In both of those Champions League finals, Vinicius scored the crucial goals himself. 2022 against Liverpool, his goal was the only one of the match. In 2024 against Dortmund, he scored the second goal to seal their 2-0 win. Twice, he was the actual hero, not a supporting act, and both times somebody else got to be the story. 2022, it was Karim Benzema riding a historic season to the Ballon d'Or. 2024, it was Jude Bellingham, the new arrival everyone couldn't stop talking about. Vinicius kept winning the games, he just never got to be the headline. He's also been the target of racist abuse for years. Chants, banners, and effigies hung outside stadiums in his shirt. He's turned it into a fight, filing 18 legal complaints since 2022, and saying publicly that Spain shouldn't get to co-host the 2030 World Cup if nothing changes. Through all of it, he's called himself a proper Madridista. This isn't a guy who's been angling for the exit. This is a guy who's given the club everything. Vinicius signed his last extension in 2023, which will last until 2027. Talks on a new deal have reportedly dragged on for close to 18 months with no improvement. The sticking point: Real Madrid has a take-it-or-leave-it offer on the table. His side wants a deal closer to what Mbappe earns, plus a signing bonus, something Real Madrid has essentially never given a player and doesn't want to start now. And Florentino Perez isn't helping. He keeps saying the right things publicly. There's time. I'd love him to stay forever, and he's won us the last 2 Champions Leagues. But in the same breath, he said he won't stand in Vinicius's way if he wants to leave. That's not a guy fighting to keep him. That's a guy staying comfortable either way. Vinicius earns a reported 25 million euros a year gross, around 15 million after tax. On top of that, 16 major sponsorship deals, Nike, Pepsi, Gatorade, Visa, and more, worth up to another 20 million a year. Real Madrid takes roughly half of that, up to 10 million euros a year, straight out of his own sponsorship money into the club, a standard clause at Madrid, but at this scale, it is an enormous amount of money. Add it up, and the club claws back close to half his salary from money he made himself that they didn't spend a cent to earn. Now compare Kylian Mbappe's confirmed salary of 31.25 million euros a year, the highest at the club. He arrived in 2024 as a free agent and keeps 80% of his own image rights, an exception Madrid basically never makes. Vinny, with 2 Champions Leagues, gives half of his income away to Madrid, but Mbappe keeps 80% of his income and a higher salary on top. Perez has openly called Mbappe the club's best player. You can see exactly why Vinicius might be thinking, I delivered the trophies. He didn't, not yet. So why is he getting paid more and keeping more than I am? That's the backdrop Ornstein's tweet landed on. Once people got past the "it's just leverage" reaction, the story kept getting more real. Arsenal's ownership has reportedly approved pursuing a deal, and multiple outlets now describe the interest as genuine, with the club ready to go all in if Vinicius signals he's open to it. We already showed you the Jokic contract, but that's not the only sign of Arsenal's financial status right now. Arsenal just posted a club record £691 million in revenue for 2024-25, roughly $820 million, up nearly 90% in 3 years. Commercial income alone hit £264 million, now ahead of Chelsea's. Behind recent Arsenal spending is Kronk Sports and Entertainment, which has already put £340 million directly into the club. The same group owns the Colorado Avalanche, whose star Nathan MacKinnon became the highest-paid player in NHL history on an 8-year, $100 million deal. They own the LA Rams, who paid quarterback Matthew Stafford over $40 million a year after he'd already won them a Super Bowl. And they own the Nuggets, who just paid Jokic $55 million a year. This is not an ownership group afraid of record money. Arsenal can't afford it, doesn't hold up against how this owner runs its other teams, or against a club posting record revenue 2 years running. And Arsenal isn't just spending, they're winning. Premier League champions last season, Champions League finalists, lost to PSG on penalties in Budapest this May. In 140 years, that's only their second final ever. They lost the first one too in 2006. They have never won it. Not once. If Vinicius goes there and he's the one who finally delivers that trophy, that's not just a big signing. That's a statue outside the Emirates. Real Madrid isn't sitting still either. They've reportedly drawn up a shortlist to replace Vinicius if this goes south. Erling Haaland and Julian Alvarez have been mentioned, along with RB Leipzig's Jan Diamond wanted for around €120 million transfer fee. If Haaland or Alvarez arrived, Mbappe could shift to his preferred left flank, meaning Madrid isn't just planning a replacement. They're planning to reshape the whole front line without Vinicius. There's history underneath this that makes it messier. In 2024, Vinicius was the favorite for the Ballon d'Or, arguably his best individual season, but it went to Rodri instead. Madrid's own delegation boycotted the ceremony over it. City fans later trolled him with a banner about it in a Champions League tie. That snub still sits there, unresolved. And there is a high chance Vinicius will end up in the same locker room with Rodri, whom Real Madrid are looking to bring to the club. But here's the detail almost nobody's talking about, maybe the wildest piece of this whole story. Back in February, while managing Benfica, Jose Mourinho clashed with Vinicius during a Champions League match. Vinicius accused a Benfica player of racially abusing him. Mourinho's public response suggested Vinicius had provoked it with his goal celebration. Pundits called it a disgrace. A rival manager called it a huge mistake. Anti-racism groups called it gaslighting. 4 months later, in June, Real Madrid hired Jose Mourinho as head coach. The man who publicly questioned whether Vinicius was even telling the truth about racist abuse is now the one deciding his future at the club. One more layer. Real Madrid's whole recruitment model has shifted. Mbappe arrived free, as did other recent arrivals. Instead of paying huge fees, Madrid signs top players once their contracts run down elsewhere and puts that saved money straight into wages. Smart financially, but it leaves less room to make a wage exception for any one player, even one who's delivered what Vinicius has. He's not just negotiating against Mbappe's contract. He's negotiating against Real Madrid's entire new business model. This exact story has played out before, with a different player at a different club. Ousmane Dembélé arrived at Barcelona in 2017 for well over €100 million. Injuries hit him hard, and he spent years buried behind Messi and Suarez. In 2023, he left for PSG for a fraction of that price, and 2 years later, he lifted the Champions League titles. Months after that, he won the Ballon d'Or. It was Dembélé's PSG side that beat Arsenal on penalties in this year's Champions League final. The exact trophy Arsenal is still chasing for the first time in its history. Vinicius has already given Real Madrid 2 Champions Leagues, playing in someone else's shadow. Dembélé had to leave his shadow behind entirely to finally become the main story. 2 Champions League winning goals, half his own sponsorship money already in Real Madrid's pocket, a president saying the right things while quietly refusing to fight for him, a manager who once questioned his word about racism now deciding his future, a front office already lining up his replacement, and a rival club across the channel that's never won the one trophy that would make him a legend there instead of a supporting act here. Stay at Real Madrid in Mbappe's shadow and hope the club finally sees what he's given them, or walk away and find out, the way Dembélé did, what happens when he's finally allowed to be the main man.